You can start.
Um, yeah, see my slides, full screen, PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know where to go at what lens. Can you please briefly give a call of who is there on the conference, and then a little bit so I'll know the background, how which parts I need to go in deep.
So,
That's great. And then anyone else we have remotely on the call? Three of us, right?
yeah, more people on the call, but I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, I'll try to give an overview, and we can go back with any specific questions. Um, I'm trying to hide the WebEx. Yeah, okay. To give an overview, so what I'll do is Daniel has sent me a nice questions. I'll put up in the end on what kind of information will be useful to cover in this talk. So first let me start with assuming we have some context here about what XSEDE is. I'll start off with what ECSS means. The Science Gateways program is part of the ECSS, or which stands for Extended Collaborative Support Services. Excuse me. So what the ECSS program does is it provides support various XSEDE users, typically requested to the allocation process of staff time from anywhere from 2 months to a year. So this includes support in various disciplines, in various areas that includes optimizing codes in the research, like in the research codes, like Mark Fahey at Next, or helping with popularly used community codes group managed by John Callis at TAC. And then I'll oversee the Science Gateways program. I'll go in detail about that. And then we have Jay Almeida from NC, the education and outreach aspects of the ECSS. And then finally, we have also a novel and innovative aspects of the ECSS program, where to encourage and bring in non-traditional HPC users to use XSEDE resources, led by Sergio and Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center. So we have 80 people spread across 9 different sites, which spans different areas and disciplines. And you can look at ECSS in more detail about the XSEDE web page. If you can Google for XSEDE ECSS. So here is the various teams I was just describing, and here is that rough team distribution. If you look at ECSS, I was just describing, these are the 5 areas, which is the research team, science gateways, community codes, training, education and outreach, and novel and innovative projects. And so now diving into a little more about science gateways, I'll come back and say what exactly users can apply and we can help with. First, to give an introduction to science gateways. So what space is essentially we are trying to, what science gateways do is democratize scientific research and access to instruments. So if you look at XSEDE as a resource-centric view, collection of resources with the software environments and people, get turns and provide them into a science-centric view. So this is, take a typical scientific group, work scientific application. Now you want to enable a large diverse community to use that particular resource. Science gateways enable that. At the same time, to integrate data sources, computational tools and methodologies, access to various resources, they just work with these communities to enable this kind of a thing. And then I'll go back with specific examples which will give more context here. So, first example is here is an example called Phylogenetic Gateway, Cypress. So it stands for Cyber Infrastructure for Phylogenetic Research. So first is is one of the popularly used XSEDE gateway, and it constitutes almost 25% of all XSEDE users and an average 25 to 30% of all XSEDE jobs in terms of SUs, but in terms of number of jobs submitted, and widely used across the globe, and it's highly published. And so in what this gateway is doing, like actually, like if you go down and look at the last bullet, that's an example of what the gateway's power. Basically, a student, if you're a 15-year-old student from in State Science Fair award, and then it was put up on the NSF website that using NSF XSEDE resources, and the gateway administrators or none of them in XSEDE knew that a 15-year-old kid was using XSEDE resources. So this kind of a key demonstration of what gateways enable. They make access to XSEDE resources and applications simple and easy to use, like and in an easy friendly way. And more importantly, here point to note here is the users don't have to deal with the allocation, but the gateway API writes an allocations to the XSEDE resources, and then the users generally use the resources indirectly. And then there are vetting process, how the gateway API vets his user base. That follows various models. Like I'll come back in the end to discuss more. This was the quote was pointing to about the Cypress gateway, pointed out in the NSF homepage where this 50-year code with this kid putting it out in the science fair. And there are various gateways used in various phases in production and development. But here is a list of 25 gateways. Allow users to come and any users, they're open to public basically. Anyone can go in, log into the gateway, request an account. Some gateways approve manually, have a human in the loop. Some gateways provide a sample demo access. And then for serious computation needs, they need more justification. Some gateways have automated mechanisms for determining this. So here are the list of some of the gateways in XSEDE. I'll show some demos of some of them. That's kind of what we look at science gateways as such. So do you have any questions as such about what do science gateways mean here? I'll go back to what in XSEDE Science Gateways program, what do we do and where we can provide help. So going forward, so what the XSEDE, so I was describing the XSEDE ECSS program where the XSEDE offers support to various XSEDE users, extended consulting support, and then describing the gateway. So what the XSEDE ECSS Science Gateways program is designed to do is provide this extended consulting specifically to build and operate science gateways. So to read the mission statement, so basically what we do is we want to further the scientific impact of XSEDE by enabling lots of software developers or the gateway developers here to create, share, and share the tools and methodologies to require these to build gateways and enable lots of diverse, a large number of users. Basically, in short, to help to democratize the science and the resources. So, as part of this, our mandate, what we do is we also foster a community. We hold bi-weekly calls, one of every other Friday, to engage and share experiences from each of the gateways, discuss through a mailing list what any common gateway issues or problems, or provide updates. At the same time, we also follow the primary ECSS mission, which is any allocation. Along with the allocation, the project PIs can write a request saying, I need a gateway personal assistance, and then we can take it from there and then assign a consultant to work with the PI and advise them or even develop some back-end middleware on how to better integrate with XSEDE, and then hand off the project. So that goes on with the typical ECSS style, where we ask the users to write a work plan. We brainstorm with the PI what needs to be accomplished, what are the key quarterly milestones are, and then they track the progress about the development. So within CCSS, we primarily focus on the middleware side of it. It is basically a gateway portal connecting to XSEDE, the software which sits in the middle, and then do less of the user interface part of it, and then that we collaborate with the gateway PI themselves. Part of the reason being, the gateway PI he's representing the community, and they better understand what the user needs are and the moving target, and then we focus on how to make XSEDE more efficiently used and integrated by these gateways. So examples, what PIs can request ECSS gateway support. They can request saying, I have a scientific workflow, I want to automate this process. Can you help me integrate this with XSEDE and integrate with my gateway portal? At the same time, integrate new visualization techniques, or XSEDE has multiple resources. How do I schedule different jobs on different resources? Particularly like integration of a particular resource or like multiple resources into the science gateway, or moving data from the user machines or from the gateway machine to the XSEDE resources and back. And finally, some gateways start out as campuses resources. They enable their campus resources and want to scale out to XSEDE. So here are some examples. It need not be constrained with this, but we get to see various aspects when the projects are requesting variation of this or even a new request. So about the Comet and stuff. So some good questions actually Daniel put together on to understand for this conversation on what gateways are, like how gateways are available, who maintains them, who owns them. So these are all very good questions. So I want to go one by one, and instead of running a bunch of slides, which I'll be happy to share, but I want to quickly point out to the various websites here. You can see and navigate yourself after the talk. So let me quickly share my screen here. Daniel, are you able to see my screen fine? Daniel?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to the main XSEDE website, so the first one is we see gateways. The gateways tab kind of summarizes basically some of the information what I was just giving in the introduction. What gateways are, how can a user come in, and if you have a gateway technology, how do they register that particular gateway technology, or how does a user go about using existing gateways? So for instance, here is a big list of the existing gateways, like where are the gateways on. If you click on each of these links here, they describe basically a description of the gateway itself and also the contacts. The main gateway PI name, the additional contacts, and also a link to the portal homepage. So we'll go through a few of them. So I'll just demonstrate a couple of gateways and see what they mean. So here, if you look at an UltraScan gateway, want to know more or want to give this a try, they go to the gateway portal homepage and then figure out what it is. So here I'll just quickly navigate access to our analytical software to an instrument called ultracentrifuge. It looks like a washing machine, but basically it's like a sedimentation particles here. So here there are various variations of it. So what the gate here provides is these are the various installation backend which talks to XSEDE. So these gateways, each individual institutions here, you see 65 different deployments of this. Each of them have a certain user base, and then basically associated with a one or two particular instruments, and then they all go back and work with a common middleware which talks to XSEDE. So here, let's say I'll use a demonstration portal and demonstrate like the gateway describes what the job says, and if we can keep going through all the links, but like to of time, I'll just directly go about. Let's say I have a sample of data. How do I analyze it? So here I skipped a part where the UltraScan gateway provides a user interface component where we load the data from the instrument into the user interface and first prepare the data or the pre-process the data. So and then the gateway is submitted, the data is uploaded to the gateway. Here I select one such data set, select, and then say add it to the queue. So when I say add it to the queues, it says it's various algorithmic methods and analysis techniques I can apply on these data sets. So all of these techniques are pre-deployed on XSEDE. So this is an application manage the gateway PI pre-deployed on XSEDE machine. So as an end user, I'm acting as an end user. I don't have an XSEDE account. I just logged into the portal or the gateway account, and then I click okay, here I'm expected to know a little bit about this domain because this is mainly targeted for the domain users, and then missions need to be applied and so on. So once here, so here are the list of the machines the gate providing access to. So you can now choose. So I want to run the job on Stampede. So they have selected the data sets. I'm just leaving them by default. But the user selects they are or configuring the model itself and then says submit job. So now the gateway, the portal has submitted it and see what's happening with my job. So the now the gateway portal software is talking to the middleware, which is talking to the XSEDE, and the communication is coming backwards. So now we see that the job is queued on the machine Stampede, and we'll keep seeing that the status is updated. So the whole point is the user now did not SSH into the machine, did not have an XSEDE allocation, or did not know how to configure the model optimally tune it for XSEDE Stampede. All of that is done by the gateway administrator, and here we are just seeing the user is just running the jobs. So based on how long the job far queues on the Stampede are, we'll keep saying this. So let me quickly also demonstrate one more up here and also run a second job. So and also say I'm selecting a job now. Now I say I'll set up a algorithm control here, and then need more data for this. So let me go back. So this time, instead of the Stampede, I select it on a Trestles or Alamo, which is a campus cluster, the cluster provided by the gateway PI itself. So now I select the job, this typically has lesser queue. Then I go back to the queue status, watch this job. Looks like my Stampede job got finished. But now we'll see the job on the Alamo machine is good. And you'll see its status changes to run, and then be able to the user. So I want to show this example and basically answer some of these questions. Look at it. Biophysics, chemistry, the sciences, the earthquake engineering one, environment biology. You can quick looking at it. Geoscience, there's a pretty diverse set of disciplines here. Neuroscience and neurobiology. So all of these gateways provide variation of these capabilities on how to submit jobs and then how to provide access to these computational resources. So yeah, so that's a very good place to go and understand what gateways are available and who are accepting public machines. There are a bunch of gateways which are in development as well. So anyway, so let me answer these quick questions, and then pause here, and then the last three questions and pause here. So, who owns them? So again, I was trying to describe this earlier. So these gateways, in the case of the ultrascan we are demonstrating, so the gateway is owned by the PI themselves. As XSEDE ECSS support people, we went and helped the gateway integrating with the Globus middleware, how to submit grid FTP, how to move the data using grid FTP to enhance the gateway interactions. But the PI themselves own the gateway. They're responsible for running the gateway, providing user support. So they are typically, it's the PI's responsibility or the representing the community who owns them. What can be done through these gateways? And then there are particular gateways which are enabling large collaboration like LSST, dark energy survey, and so on. And there are certain gateways like ParamChem or the parameterization gateway, led by Alex Mackerel and Sudhakar Pamadigantam from NCSA and Alex Mackerel from University of Maryland. What these gateways do is they're investigating novel molecular dynamics, like molecular mechanics or molecular mediation. It's various, I'll go back to the other advanced cases, but this is the most 80 to 90% of the usage comes this way.
Thank you.
Now, coming back to further answer that question, that's a very important one. So there are gateways like Cypress. Cypress is used heavily. It has about 7,000 to 8,000 users. About 1,300 of them actively use this on a monthly or a quarterly basis. We see a lot of usage from this gateway, burning a lot of allocations. So the allocations team wanted to make sure a particular user or a few set of users are not using the entire gateway allocation. What the allocations team established a relationship, demands or the needs increases, they have to write their own allocation to the XSEDE. And then once they get approved with their own XRAC, you can take that XRAC allocation to the gateway PI and say, I'm very interested to use your gateway still because it provides a user-friendly way, it provides a web-based mechanism for me to work it, but charge it to my allocation instead of the gateway community allocation. So that's one model being used up a lot, and that's Cypress uses that kind of an approach. And then the last approach, there is a new gateway called GAMP. It's a parameterization gateway again from Benoit Roux from XSEDE operations and CME. And this is an extra step because what we are trying to ensure here is we are allowing a community, a gateway user, end users who do not have XSEDE account to use that community account. So we want to make sure everyone is up to aware. In this case, when the operations team sees such a community request, they say they don't instantly approve and follow the AMI request process and so on, but actually follow up with the PI, saying and explain that we have certain constraints or policies. Will you follow this? If so, sign up for you, and then we'll follow a request. And so all of these extra steps is make sure we have responsible and a party we can go out reach to when we see any jobs or anything we need to audit these jobs and so on. So this is kind of the registration process. If we go back to the XSEDE gateway page, so with this, if you see this, there is a gateway overview which we have seen before, the gateway listing, the list of this where each user is justifying the signs behind. Here the gateway PI is justifying what community of users or whom they are representing and what they are working with. So the allocation proposals this documentation slightly explains how to winning gateway allocation proposals and also how to work with for the SUs and then so on. We already looked at the gateway registration aspect. So coming back to the last one, the tools. So various ways. So generally, from XSEDE standpoint, we generally don't try to be prescriptive of you should do this, that, but rather we are more suggestive and then say, here is a forum of people you can come to, you can see what others have done, you can look at examples, or you can request an ECSS support, where we can help you if you need a particular help with a particular technology or a tool you do not have experience in. And here are the sample codes, or here are the samples infrastructure. So to answer the question of are there tools the gateway community provides, the answer is no. But the gateway community provides references and pointers and examples and best practices on how to build gateways, how to operate them. For instance, here this is a key attribute or a key requirement to run a gateway or to build one and operate a gateway. So now all these end users whom we were looking in the previous UltraScan demo, they have XSEDE accounts. So we want the gateway to, we want the XSEDE to know about those users, just in case we want to audit them, or just in case we want to know how many for NSF reporting purposes, and so on and so forth, and for allocation proposals. So we want the gateways, along with say a job request, to provide reference to the mailing list mainly, gateways at xsede.org. So anyone is open to subscribe to the mailing list by sending an email to me or Nancy, and we'll be happy to add you. So this is we share information about the biweekly calls and the tools are developed. So the Cypress Gateway said the recipe of the popularly used Cypress Gateway, which I was briefly introducing before. They developed their gateway framework in Java using a struts technology. Deploying on a server or behind an Apache server or a Tomcat, or database is MySQL. We submit to XSEDE using GSI SSH. We download files and upload from the user via HTTP. And then, what the strength, in his opinion, and what are the weaknesses of his framework are. And then he describes what is the current direction and reference and PI and points of contact. So basically, the idea here is, when it's coming new to come and develop a gateway, they look at this kind of example and say, here is something this is exactly the same thing I'm trying to do. So it looks like something worked for them, something did not work from them, or maybe let me find out. I have a specific question. Let me take and look at again, this is again iPlant based gateway. So you look at the similar approaches, what the gateway was, and so forth. But basically, again, we have a lot more survey recipes here, nicely contributed. So we are trying to still integrate them. This is an in development one, but here is something for anyone thinking about gateways or thinking about how to build one. We strongly encourage them to look at these cookbook recipes to get them an idea on what others have done previously. Yeah. So for documentation more clearer so that others can benefit and increase the gateways, the usage.
So how do you popularize the gateway? I mean, so you build a gateway for a specific community. Not in your task list to get people to use it. Whoever is in that research community, it's their job to make it popular, right?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. Actually, that's how we suffer. Both how do we popularize? For instance, Cypress Gateway, they just put out their gateway and then they have an overwhelming response from the users. Lots of users coming and using gateways. So there are other gateways PIs knows the forum or venues where they can provide or advertise these gateways or access to this. So here is very little the XSEDE can help. So go on.
So are, if I remember right, are absolutely anonymous. You almost don't need an account to add a gateway. Some people set it up like that. Is Cypress, for example, set up? Do they have individual accounts? Do they use group access? So if you just, I think, and NanoHub in the early days, NanoHub used to be something that is used, right? They didn't even have to have an account. That's the early NanoHub.
Yeah, so there are two questions. There are two different questions. So let me take the Cypress one first. So the Cypress one, as I understand it, most of the users need to do something, compute something on XSEDE. So in those cases, what they do is they provide anonymous access to the users up to jobs 2 minutes and less. Anyone can run and then run those tiny jobs, and they're really approved by the Gateway API. In the Nano case, that's the question. Nano case, they have 250,000 users. None of them do computations. Many share data. They are visualizing the data. They are like collaboration material. They are like contributing material, reading the material. So here, I pardon my ignorance here on what exactly where the line is and how the NanoHub enforces this. When someone can do without an account, and what point you need to get an account. But most NanoHub users who do not deal with computation, as I understand, can do
require any kind of.
Yeah, and the second point is you can spend job done now. Yeah. Good questions. Any others? Okay, Daniel, I think I'm done. I'll share the slides, and then again, if you have a mailing list or the email list, please feel free to send this email. Encourage people to subscribe to this Gateway's mailing list or point out direction. I will be happy to help at any time.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We don't have more questions. Well, thank you, Suresh. Bye.
Okay. Thank you.